let's do it this way.
Okay, cool. So, to start out, I usually have the guests talk about their background a little bit and like how they got into the sport. So, how'd you get into basketball?
Like from when I was young?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad. So my dad was a high school coach in Kentucky for about 20 years. So when I was growing up, he was coaching teams in Lexington, and it was a big deal to me to follow his teams. A big deal to me to watch as much basketball as I could. I just got in the gym, fell in love with it. Been playing ever since. I played at Murray High School in Murray, Kentucky. It's all around the western side of the state, over there by Missouri. And then in college, I walked on for 2 years at Lipscomb University, which was a blast. We played in the NCAA tournament my first year, and the NIT finals my second year. And then after those 2 years, I got a job with the Dallas Mavericks as a player development intern, and that's what I've been doing for the last year. Until these last couple months, I've been back at Lipscomb helping them out a little bit, just volunteering around and doing whatever they ask. So.
Mm-hmm. What athletes did you look up to? It doesn't have to be basketball. Just like growing up, like any sport. Who'd you look up to?
I like that. My favorite ever professional athlete was Lebron from when I was little. I was talking to my dad about that recently, just because of the championship run they had. But I think he was the first NBA player that I really remember latching onto as like a fan, and then obviously it's been my whole life. But he's been in finals every year, so that's been fun to watch him grow. And then just another one that's not basketball that applies to our state is Muhammad Ali. I just love watching documentaries and reading books and stuff about him, and kind of look up to him as somebody from Kentucky, and in a way that he was the greatest that you could ever be in his sport, and he was also an advocate and stood up for what he believed in, which was really cool. All that side of his career too. So
yeah, I like that. Do you have a favorite moment playing basketball? Like, you want to describe it?
Yeah, I think my favorite moment playing was, I guess, I was on the bench, but being on the team that won the conference, and Lipscomb won the ASUN conference. It got to go to the NCAA tournament where we won that conference championship at Florida Gulf Coast. It was on ESPN. It was a super fun game, and just the joy that we got to experience when the final buzzer finally went off and we knew we were going to the NCAA tournament. It was the best team I've been on. It was just a blast. So that game was definitely the most fun game I've been in.
Talk to me about that NCAA tournament experience a little bit. So you all played against North Carolina, correct?
Yep.
And that was the team with Kobe White and Nasir Little?
No, that was the...
Was it the year before?
The year before, yeah.
Gotcha.
So
I'm trying to think who's on that team then.
Luke Mays, senior year.
That's right.
After he played forever. Joel Berry. Those kind of guys.
Yeah.
So the year after they won the national title. So.
How was that experience as a whole? Just like getting to be on the sidelines during like an NCAA tournament game.
Yeah, man, it was unreal. I mean, is everything you kind of think about growing up, like it's something you would dream about doing, is being able to play on CBS in the NCAA tournament and getting the March Madness television show, getting to watch it where you're on the show and your team jumping up and down. But yeah, it was surreal. I mean, we got to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, and play in front of a full arena that was mostly rooting for North Carolina, but it was just, it was unreal. We played okay. We wish we would have played better, made some more shots, but we stayed in the game. It was a tight game the whole way, and it was a blast, man.
Do you have a favorite moment like watching the sport, either at home or even like seeing a game in person?
Good question. Watching, I would say, as a Kentucky basketball fan growing up, watching the 2012 national championship with my dad in New Orleans was something I'll remember forever. Anthony Davis's team. The basketball memories, I got to watch LeBron in the playoffs when he played for the Heat. They played the Pacers, and it was in Indianapolis, and it was an important game 3, I think, and I want to say he had like 40 points, 18 rebounds, and 9 assists, I think. So it was an insane individual performance this year I got to watch Luka and Zion play for the first time, which was an outstanding game when they both went back and forth and went to overtime. We ended up winning overtime. So getting to watch that was another kind of individual performance that was really fun to watch.
So that's a good leading into the next part. So you were with the Mavericks this past year. So go in depth a little bit, like just for like even like listeners, like so what did you do like on a day-to-day basis with them?
Yeah, for sure. So our official title was player development interns. So what we did on a daily basis was, in some ways we're just managers, and then in other ways we get to kind of be more involved than we thought we would get to. So basically what we do is we come in about an hour and a half, 2 hours before every practice, and we're working out with guys that come in. So they want to work out pre-practice, get shots up. We pass, rebound, set screens, play defense, sometimes run pickup with them before. We did play pickup every day after practice with guys that weren't in the rotation at the time. So a lot of pickup with Boban, JJ Barea, Justin Jackson, like all those guys that were in and out of rotation and needed to kind of stay in shape. We got to play pickup with them a lot, which is fun.
Great.
And then during practice, we did a mix of scout team and dummy defense, live defense, rebounders at different baskets. They obviously have a bunch of baskets in the practice gym. So a lot of the times, like when coach splits us up at the beginning of practice to do shooting, we go to different baskets and do shooting with guys. And that's kind of what we did on practice days. A lot of that was, for me, the experience for me was just getting to see an NBA practice every day and learn and watch how those people operate and just watch how the best do things. And so that was fun. And then on game days, we got to go to home games. We didn't travel, but we would go to home games and do the shoot around the morning of, do some stuff there. And then at the games, we would do the pregame workouts on the court for our team and their team. So that was a fun experience because there was a few guys where we got to rebound for the pregame when DeMarcus Cousins or Lebron was doing their workout when they came and played, or when Kawhi came is one I got to do. I got to rebound for Kawhi and watch his pregame workout for 30 minutes up close and watch what they talked about and stuff like that. So that was another really fun experience.
Did they let you like live in a hotel during that time, or did you have to rent out a place, or how did that work?
Yeah, so we had to rent our own place. They paid us, by the hour all the way just as an internship. And they paid, it was good enough for me to have a place and for me to live well enough for a year. And just coming out of college, any money was the only money I've ever seen. So it was fun, and it wasn't a burden at all. We had our own place. I had a place with two of the other interns that I became super, super close with, and we still talk every day. So I'm glad that I ended up finding them to room with. That was a big part of the experience for me. So no, we had our own apartment, but it was near the arena and the practice facility, so we were there pretty much all the time. So it was a good spot.
Gotcha. Did you have any moments where you were just like shocked at like where you were and like who you were with and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and act like I wasn't, excited to be around all those players every day. Just coming. I mean, literally the year before, I was at Lipscomb, working out every day and looking up to NBA players. And so, yeah, at first I was like pretty shocked to be around KP and Luka every day. So that was a shock at first, seeing that, and then just kind of as the year goes along, it's just you're consistently shocked, but you get used to it about the level that those players are at in terms of how many shots they're making in workouts. And then when we're playing, we're watching them play preseason, like pickup with each other, and watching the types of shots they can hit when they're in a pickup environment, and then watching when the actual season came here and how skilled they are and how athletic they are defensively and stuff like that is always a shock. So.
So, you've seen a lot of games and stuff. Who are some of your favorite players to watch?
Yeah, in the NBA, some of my favorite players to watch, obviously LeBron. I love passing, and I think that's a big part of it. It was just growing up, watching him play, and how much he values creating shots for others and being that guy that can dominate the ball and still get everybody involved. So LeBron, and then in today's game, I love guys that can shoot threes and space the floor. So Steph, Dame, all those guys. Trae Young now, I'm really high on Trae Young. I think he's really fun to watch. And all of them can pass it pretty well too. In terms of bigs, I love bigs that like stretch the court. So watching Cat and KP, what he did for us, and Jokic might be my favorite guy in the NBA to watch, just because of his unique game and his ability to pass. Like I said, I love passing. I value it over almost anything, and so his ability to be the best passer on the court as a 7-footer, that and the way he moves is definitely unique, fun to watch. So guys like that, I think, are my favorite guys to watch.
I ask all my guests this, and I've heard you talk about LeBron a good amount. What do you think about people with the LeBron Jordan debate? I'm guessing you have LeBron up there.
I would say yes. It's obviously difficult to compare careers because different eras is completely different type of basketball. I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about, the way basketball is played has changed even since LeBron's been in the league. I mean, like when he was first with Cleveland and watching those finals against the Spurs, where the game is played completely different from the finals that we just watched with the Lakers and Heat, where they're so much worried about shooting and having to guard 5 guys that are standing out at 30 feet. And I just think the game and the way it's played, and I would say it's much better now. So I guess if you were just to compare them as literal like players, then yes, I would think LeBron's better than Jordan. But then you get into like, well, what if Jordan was born in this era? I don't know. But I'm just I would say LeBron, but I'm not going to fight anybody that wants to say Jordan. I'm just that's where I am on that. So.
So going back like earlier, even before Lipscomb, you were on a team that made the state tournament. How was that experience, like going through?
Yeah, that was an awesome part of my basketball career. Growing up in Kentucky, that's a big deal. Is the state tournament at Rep Arena, getting to play there. So I always had dreams of that ever since I was little. I used to go to the tournament with my family every year, so I knew that's where I wanted to be when I got to play in high school. So my dad was my coach at Murray, which was another fun part of it. Getting to experience that with him, because that was my, basketball best friend from when I was young. So getting to experience that with him, it was his first one too. So getting to play in Rupp with your dad on the sidelines is awesome. Getting to play in Rupp was cool. Like that's why everybody wants to do it, because it's at Rupp Arena, all the history that's been there, and big games that have been played there, players that have played there. So that's cool. And it's just the best event in Kentucky basketball, high school basketball. So, of course, it was a blast, man. I loved it.
So with this question right here, I mean, it could go for any level of basketball. Do you want to see any change to any level, like high school, college, or even NBA?
Good question. My dad would fight me for this, but I hate charges, I think. I'm beginning to hate charges. But mostly just the charges where, like, bigs or guys on the weak side are just running over at the last second and trying to stand under people that are jumping in the air. I think everybody should have to, like, jump vertically if you're gonna be rotating. Because I just don't like when guys jump and all of a sudden people run up under them and that's a charge. So I would love to figure out a way to get rid of the charge, I think, unless it's like, unless you're like a primary defender that's guarding somebody and just run straight through you. But I don't love charges. That's, I guess, one thing I would change. And from all levels, and even in the NBA, they got some things to figure out too. But I would just love to see more evolution at the college and high school levels in terms of the way the game is played at the highest level in the NBA and in Europe, and in terms of how many threes we're shooting and how our offenses are run, and everybody's ability to pass and shoot from small guys to tall guys. I think that affects our training at the lowest levels. If we stop, training big guys when they're young to be big guys and turn everybody into basketball players, I think it's going to make us better at every level. So.
So you talked a little bit about stretch bigs or even like passing bigs. Do you think that the traditional big man is still like effective nowadays than like it was like probably say 5-10 years ago still?
Yeah, so in terms of like a traditional like post up big man, I think the post up play is not at all dead or done for. I think you just have to, if you're going to be that type of player, you also have to be able to shoot. I think what's going out of the game is guys that can just post up and don't have the ability to pass, shoot, play on the perimeter, that kind of stuff. So I think if you're a player like, Karl Towns or Porzingis did it for us, or Jokic clearly did it as an example, that I don't think all of the things that they do are as effective if they're not able to shoot. KP isn't as effective on offense if he's not able to shoot from 30 feet. He's still a good player. He can post up and make some fadeaways, but his whole game changes, and it changes our whole offense with the fact that he can pick and then pop and shoot from 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And Jokic completely changes the Nuggets offense because he can make standstill threes, enough of them, and even some of those off the dribble fadeaway threes sometimes too.
Yeah.
But he's also such a good passer. So I just think that the way, as sophisticated and athletic as defenses are now, I don't think that you can just have a guy that sits in there and posts up all game and that be a consistent, efficient offense, at least at the NBA level. I mean, you could still do it in college and high school to some degrees. But.
So, you said you went to Lipscomb. So how was that experience, like being a part of like a Division I program?
Yeah, it was. Lipscomb was great. I got so lucky that I ended up at Lipscomb. I didn't have any Division I looks really coming out of high school at all. I had NCAA and places like that I could go to, which I thought about going to and would have had a great time at too. It's just I told the coaches at Lipscomb I always wanted to be on a D1 program, so I wanted the chance to do that and see if I could hang with those guys. That's what you want as a competitor, to hang with the best of every level. And then also I wanted to work in the NBA one day. It's been a goal since I was kind of young. So that I felt like seeing a program at the D1 level would give me a chance to, kind of see what it's like at the best level of college. And that would maybe help me with an NBA program someday. So that's why I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so lucky that I ended up at Lipscomb specifically because Coach Casey and the coaching staff and then the surrounding people at Lipscomb make the experience so great, especially for a walk-on who they treated me no different than anybody else. So the whole experience was great. You said, what was your second part of your question about the...
So how was I should have rephrased it, like how was the environment like compared to even like a high school like experience, like being a Division I player?
Yeah, I mean, the level of play is obviously higher.
Mm-hmm.
But the intensity of practice, at least for me at my high school, was not too dissimilar. I mean, every team that wants to win is going to have high-level practices at every level. So, I mean, the best NAIA teams that have good coaches and are good programs are going to go just as hard as, college and NBA teams. It's just a matter of skill level. So that went up, but, yeah, I mean, that made practicing a little harder for me, obviously, because I went from hanging with all the 5'10" to 6'3" guys in my high school
mm-hmm.
to trying to hang with 6'2" to 6'8" at Lipscomb, which is a lot harder. But the practices are great. The practices are high level, but that's kind of to be expected at good programs, which Lipscomb is. So.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think here. How many years older are you than or what's the year difference between you and Garrison Matthews?
Gary is, I want to say Gary just turned 20. I think Gary's 24.
Okay.
Or 25.
Gotcha.
And I'm 22. So he was, my freshman year, he was a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And my sophomore year, he's a senior. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So he's about 2 years older than me.
Mm-hmm. How was it playing with him?
Oh man, Gary, what I tell people is Gary raises the level of every environment he's in terms of intensity. Like weight room, you're in the weight room, you're in the gym, whatever you're doing, you're playing cards, you're doing whatever. He can't not be intense. He goes at his highest level every time he goes. So practicing with him, like if you're on his team, you can't be mentally, getting lost. You got to be everything. You got to bring everything. You got to be there. So that's what Gary does to people is he just raises the level of room because everybody wants to match Gary's intensity level.
Mm-hmm.
He's also as hard on himself as he is on us. So that means a lot that when he's ripping us about missing a rotation defensively, he's also ripping himself just because he's not shooting, 20 from 20 from three in a drill. So when your best player acts like that, it definitely helps the intensity level of practice for sure. He's a great guy and the best shooter I've ever played with. And still, I think, even after a year working with the Mavs, still the best shooter I've seen in person do like workouts. I mean, just an incredible shooter off the move, off the dribble, anything deep, very deep. So,
could you tell that he was going to be an NBA player your freshman year?
My freshman year, no, not. I mean, I could see a ceiling for it, but I wouldn't say he was at that point. He definitely got better his senior year, though, and we started to be able to see it his senior year when the types of shots he was hitting were a lot more like on the move, fadeaways, off balance. He never has to be off balance now, and I don't think he had that as much his freshman, sophomore, junior year of college. But his senior year, he was just having to take tougher ones because defenses are more dialed into him, and he wasn't getting the same looks he was getting early in his career. But he was still making shots because he just adjusted and learned how to shoot them off balance and contested, and double teamed. So, no, I think he definitely developed into it. Not saying that I didn't. If you would ask me his junior year, I would have said it was possible, but I didn't know. And then his senior year, it was for sure that he's going to play at the NBA or some really high level somewhere. So.
So going into the arenas and stuff, were you intimidated at all by like the environments that you're going into, like going to away games at Lipscomb?
I mean, yeah, I'm not. Again, yeah, for sure. I mean, not intimidated in a way that would affect my play, but definitely like. When you go to, we went to, I think the loudest, like, most full environment we went to during the regular season might have been Purdue, which is a pretty big arena, and they were a really good team that year. They ended up drilling us. That might have been the worst we lost. It was like almost 30. But we were a really good team and didn't usually lose too bad to any teams. I mean, we lost Louisville by 4, Tennessee by 2. I mean, we were hanging with everybody. So, but that game was, I mean, that place was super packed. But when you go to those places, it's obviously kind of like, you have some nerves warming up, but then you just kind of think like that's why I came to Lipscomb was to get to play in this environment, and as soon as you get on the court, and you know this for big games, and every player knows this, if it's a big game, you're nervous until you get on the court and you touch the ball and you run up and down once or twice and you forget about it. Playing at the NCAA tournament, of course I was nervous going in. I'm not gonna lie. Like at the end of the game, I'm on CBS. If I shoot an air ball, everybody's seeing this. So of course I'm nervous. But once you so they sub me in and I get in, and then once you run you have one defensive possession, you get screened. You're like, oh shoot, like I better play like I'm still playing basketball. So it just kind of snaps out of you. But yeah, you get nervous, and that's the fun part about it is playing in those environments that make you feel that way. So
yeah. So, do you think that college players should get paid, or do you think they should get money off their image and likeness, or what do you think about that whole situation?
Yeah, I would love for them to get paid like a legitimate salary. I think that's would be best case scenario if they could work out the money. That's just the hardest part is working out the money on that. I definitely think the easiest move to make is to allow every college player to make their own money off their own likeness in their own ways. That doesn't even make sense. That it wouldn't be that way. Once you kind of once it gets explained to you the first time, you're like, that doesn't make any sense. People that disagree with it, I think, just don't understand. And if you gave them that analogy in any other workplace, that type of labor wouldn't make sense at all. That's not, it's not how we do things in life. So, yeah, for sure. That part doesn't even make sense to me, that they wouldn't be able to make their own money off their own likenesses just because we want to label them as amateurs. That's ridiculous. So yes, on that part, and I would like for there to be a more stable way to where every player on every sports team can make money in their own ways because they need it and deserve it. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to speak on exactly how that gets done because that's a lot more difficult. But I would believe that it definitely needs to get done at some point.
Yeah. That was my last question. So the closing segment here is when I just let the guests say whatever they want, or that's on their mind really. So do you have anything on your mind you want to talk about?
I'm super excited for the NBA draft coming up. I did a bunch of work on that, just on my own, just trying to learn, get scouting reps on my own, watching players, and trying to learn how to predict their development. So I'm super excited for that because I just spent tons of hours watching film and watching games of second-round prospects and acting like a basketball nerd there for a little bit. So excited for that, see where guys are going. I've been at Lipscomb for the last 3 weeks, as I kind of said at the beginning, just volunteering here, and it's been great to be back around some old teammates. It's been great to be around a new coaching staff. It's been great to work with and super helpful in terms of my basketball knowledge, and I've just loved it for the past few weeks. So enjoying things here right now and just kind of waiting out future NBA season, hopefully to get back to that level at some point, but just kind of seeing where everything takes me. So
well, that's all I have for this podcast, so I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, it was great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'll let you go. So, yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for talking to me about your whole experience. Hope you had a good time with it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, see you, Tony.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll see you. All right, and that's the end of the podcast episode. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace.